Billy McDougal.
And he is in for a Jets touchdown. That's over the middle in the air, picked off. Brian Poole to the end zone, touchdown. There goes Darnold. And Bell! He's doing it all for the Jets.
And welcome back to another episode of the Cool Your Jets podcast. We're your hosts, Ben Blessington and Michael Nania. You're listening to the third and final installment of our Adam Gase deep dive with special guest co-host Robby Sabo, who is the co-owner of Jets X Factor. You can find parts 1 and 2 on the Cool Your Jets podcast feeds on iTunes and Spotify. But if you'd like to follow along with the video component of these pods, you should subscribe to the Jets X Factor YouTube page just to follow along with the plays that we're talking about. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. How can Gase adjust how he uses Le'Veon in 2020? Obviously this situation is just a microcosm of the Luke Falk games for Le'Veon trying to do it all by himself. But is there another way that you think that Adam Gase, could be using Le'Veon Bell that he didn't do enough in 2019? Because when you get a guy, I know Gase didn't want to sign a running back to a big deal, and that makes sense. He was probably right about that. He prefers a running back by committee approach. But Le'Veon Bell is one of the best playmakers in the league, and there has to be an answer. Even if your offensive line sucked last year, hopefully that's going to be a lot better this year. There has to be a solution to using one of the best playmakers in the league, right?
Nope.
Nope. Not at all. Here's an outside run for you, though, by the way. So
running backs are a product of their line. I mean, we've seen it so often. Who was in the Super Bowl last year? Raheem Mostert and Damian Williams. They have great offensive lines. They have great, this is what they do. They put Sam Darnold under center. They run a stretch, an outside zone to the left side, right behind that big man on left tackle. And go right up Mekhi Becton. I mean, other than that, I don't know what the hell. The only other way, Gase, you could maximize a terrible offensive line is if your quarterback is just that damn good. If he could do anything in every situation, if he could take advantage of first down and pick up 70, the quarterback has to make up for it, like a Peyton Manning, in that mold.
Here's an example of flexing Le'Veon out wide. And you're right. I mean, a part of the reason they didn't do it was because you saw the New England game and just exactly what happened with that offensive line. I do think Le'Veon Bell is at his best when he can get, maybe not at his best, but he is good at when he can get in space, as you'll see in this Browns play, just to use some of that patience. But you're right. I mean, I think if you have a poor offensive line, that's not really going to happen. Hopefully with a better offensive line and a more athletic offensive line, not to mention better run blockers at receiver, and especially in Denzel Mims, compared to a guy like Robbie Anderson and Demaryius Thomas, you might get more outside runs from the Jets.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's a real – Blewett says it all the time. And that's a real big factor for sure that everyone overlooks. Keyshawn Johnson was a tremendous blocker. They were great. That was great for Curtis Martin with Bill Parcells in 98, 99.
Yeah, here's an example of Demaryius Thomas's run blocking if you'd like to see it. Watch Thomas right here. Mm-hmm. Ready? 3, 2, 1, hike. No, I'm not going to do that. All right.
Oh, Lord. What was he doing? It looks like a crack, but it doesn't look like a run where it would have been a crack situation.
I think he just decided he didn't want a piece of Jabril Peppers at all. He just looked at him and he's like, nah, I'm just going to.
Yeah. I didn't see that.
It's a business decision.
That was Cam Newton in the Super Bowl 100% right there. He was just, no, okay. Sorry, Le'Veon.
Yep. No, Le'Veon's an interesting – listen, he's a talented back. Great hands, great route running, great feet, great hips, great vision. His vision is his top attribute. Speed, he's not a fast guy. But he's a weapon. I would not have signed him. I was vocal about it beforehand, and it has nothing to do with Le'Veon. It's just, it sucks for running backs, but running backs have become so devalued in this league. Time and time again, it depends on everyone around them. You could find any guy, plug him in, and win a championship.
Now, here's a question for you. Would you pay Derrick Henry?
No.
If you're the Titans? No.
How old is Derrick Henry now?
I don't know.
25, 26?
Yeah, 25, 20. In time for his first contract.
And he's franchised this year?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not quite sure. I just know
He's
that
26.
he's looking for. Oh,
26.
geez, getting up there.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. But
And
I
I
mean,
think,
don't
Robbie,
know.
what you said about running backs being devalued, I think that just in these past 10 years or so, as the league has become so passing centric, I think we've all just collectively, as football observers, just realize how contingent their success is on the offensive line. And we as Jets fans got that lesson very clearly this past season, signing Veon to this huge deal. And then you see he can't do anything if, the blocking is as bad as it was. So I think we just really have all kind of, because running backs have always been star players on football teams, been hailed as that way, but over this past decade or so, I feel like we've really all just kind of realized that they do not have a lot of control over their own production, and
Right.
it's just that's the reason it's such a tough position for you, for them to really be able to control what they're doing, and why it's not smart to pay them, why you see cheap running backs in the Super Bowl so frequently, especially with New England. But like you said earlier, with Bell's skill set, the biggest thing with him, that is all these facts about running backs not having control is just even more so the case with him, because what he likes to do is play those games with defenders, set them up outside, come back in, be patient, play the blocks of his teammates, maximize them. If there's no blocks to maximize, he's not going to create any value for you. Like you said, he doesn't have long speed. That's the one thing he doesn't have.
Right.
So for him, as much as any other running back, he's very dependent on the box in front of him.
Yeah, he's more so dependent. And it's a shame, too. He did everything so great last year. Leader, off the field, everything the right way. He was patient. He sent the right messages. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about this stuff, it's nothing personal. People went crazy when I said, please don't sign Le'Veon Bell before last year.
I actually remember that.
It's
I remember your Twitter feed.
Yeah, it's not personal. It's just the way it is. It's the way salary cap works, man. If it was George Steinbrenner 1998 Yankees and there was no salary cap, sure, bring him in.
All right, and then and by the way, really quickly on that subject, when was the last time the Jets were really good? It was when they had a top offensive line, and because of that, they had an amazing run game. But it really does start in the trenches. It's how well can you protect your quarterback, and how well can you get after the other quarterback. And those 2010, 2009 Jets, we just had such a dominant offensive line that they could run all over teams, give Sanchez loads of time. And then Rex on the other side was just wrecking havoc on other quarterbacks. Yeah. And that was the key to success that the Jets and Joe Douglas are going to try to get back to. Hopefully this time with a much better quarterback.
It's a football crime of the highest degree that they haven't selected an first-round offensive lineman since 2006.
You would think that those Rex years would have been – the Jets should have been able to turn into an offensive lineman pipeline. That Rex, although he wasn't the GM – would have understood from watching those teams that we need to be have the best offensive line in all football. Mm-hmm. And, it's surprising that instead they went with the other side, which is, I guess, interior defensive lineman, which
and
didn't work out too well. I
mean, they had young Mangold, they had young Brick, and then they took, they had Faneca. They found Slauson. Slauson replaced Faneca. So they still had three really young guys. Then they took Ducasse in the second round in 2010. It is interesting that they didn't grab another one or two more guys.
2012 to 15 is where they really should have looked at it. That's when Mangold and Brick were getting closer to the end of the line, and then the other supporting pieces kind of fell apart. They never went to it.
Agree.
I mean, they had 2 first-round picks. They went with D. Milner and Sheldon Richardson. They took Quentin Coples in 2012. Yeah. I mean, Calvin Pry. I don't even want to go through it. A few more things to talk about here. One, you wouldn't describe Adam Gase as an aggressive offensive coordinator. Would you describe him as a creative one? As we run through some of this is honestly, you could just put Benny Hill music to this play as it's.
Which one's this? Oh yeah.
Pitching it to Darnold's injured thumb side, by the way. So Darnold has to chest pass it. I have a few examples of Gase, getting a little creative with it, but just kind of your thoughts on Gase mixing it up and not just running the bread of the, the run of the mill Jeremy Bates offense.
I feel like the timing was off at this one. Like Crowder's way ahead of the snap.
This is the first drive, so they presumably practiced this play a lot, but
yeah, timing's off. Crowder's way ahead of the snap.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This next play after this one is actually a play I really like, which is where they line Griffin up at right tackle. You'll be able to see it better in the other angle. But if you see, the first play of the game against Miami, Griffin's lined up at right tackle.
He's eligible.
And he's eligible, and they run him down the field. And then Thomas I think, comes across the motion, and Darnold just throws it to Tom. I think he just dirts it and throws it away. But Griffin gets wide open on this play. If Darnold hits it to him, there's two angles in this play. But watch, Griffin gets wide open. I mean, if he just throws that, but the pressure's there, at that point, you'd like to see probably Darnold just, stay strong in the pocket and throw it up to Griffin. But
it's tough. Nania, was this the play that you put in?
Yeah, this is the one I brought up.
Okay.
This was an
Yeah, he
interesting
could.
one.
If he sees it right away, he should stand up, stop drifting, notice the pressure. There's going to be a free runner. He could stand up, maybe lead him and throw it out there. But that's it. I mean, he's got to do it. He's got to see it right now. Stand up, bail on the play action, stand up and loft it out. He's got to throw it a lot earlier than he wants.
Yeah, I think it's
tough play.
It's one of those things where it's the first play of the game, so presumably they practice it a good amount, despite the fact that they're not able to practice that much. So you would think that Darnold, knows his reads, well, obviously he knows his reads, but knows that he probably can hit Griffin here. I wonder if this, the fact that he's coming off of his 2 worst games as a pro, the fact that he's 3 weeks away from mono, he didn't want to, take a hit and just throw it up and potentially get intercepted on the first play of the game. It does kind of wonder why he's hesitant instead of just throwing it.
Well, the safety blitz. No, is that number 21 a safety or a corner?
I think he's a safety, though. We'll go back to it. I don't actually know.
Him blitzing blew that whole play up.
Right.
Without him blitzing, it's a play that's going to work.
Do you think Thomas is the first read here and not Griffin? Do you think Thomas is do you think Griffin's more of a decoy for Thomas when you watch this play, or do you think
normally you would read Griffin 1, Thomas 2, especially putting the tackle eligible? Griffin's definitely the first read. You wouldn't go through all that trouble to go low to high. You'd go high to low.
I'm surprised.
Well, if the safety didn't blitz and say he maybe covered Griffin in man or he covered around that area in zone, wouldn't Griffin then be covered and not be open?
Well, you want to get that safety on play action. He's in the box. So you want to get him freezing as well. Like you got 52.
I'm really surprised.
That's the hope.
I'm really surprised Darnold doesn't throw it here, because if you watch this middle linebacker, I mean, he's running for his life. I mean, he knows that's David Harris on a halfback wheel guarding a Patriots running back. I mean, that's what that linebacker looks like right there.
Yeah, or throw it deep. If you outthrow him, you outthrow him.
Yeah, exactly. Just throw it up there for Griffin, and I mean that could have been a first play touchdown. But this is an example of Gase, I guess, being creative. I don't know if I describe him as one of those top offensive creative minds like with KC and Baltimore, but. He's not running the same Jeremy Bates, Chan Gailey, Marty Morningweg offense. I do think that he has the ability to mix it up and run some interesting concepts.
Yeah, from a play, here's where I stand. From a play caller standpoint, I've seen some good things. I've seen some bad things. I think I need to see a legit O-line to really give my judgment. From a head coaching perspective, I'm more down on him. The head coaching traits that it takes. The communication, the leadership, that stuff he has to make up in my mind. So I'm willing to, Tannehill started 24 games of a possible 49 in Miami. How the hell is that possible? And then Darnold gets mono. Is there a black cloud above this guy's head? How is that possible?
Right.
So and he was not, McCarthy was my first choice. McCarthy was the guy I wanted.
And when you think about the guys that McCarthy oversaw as a quarterback, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, I feel like Sam Darnold would fit really well into the types of systems that those two guys ran. And I agree with you. I think McCarthy would have been the perfect hire for the Jets in retrospect.
McCarthy was my first choice, but you know what? I need to see. I got to be fair. I got to give him a fair shot. Give me a league average offensive line before I could judge him.
Right. And it is important to remember, without Gase, there would probably be no Joe Douglas here. And Douglas right now is the one that's keeping my optimistic approach right now with
Joe
the Jets.
Douglas, I firmly believe in, because he came in on the first day and delivered a mission statement no other GM has delivered here in a long time, which it starts with the quarterback in both lines. And a line McCagnon didn't utter in 5 drafts.
Yeah, definitely. How much better would you feel about the team if Greg Williams was the head coach and Adam Gase was the offensive coordinator?
Not that much different, to be honest. maybe a little more optimistic.
Josh Allen would probably have $5,000 on his head if Greg Williams was the head coach.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Greg Williams hasn't had a hell of a head coaching career himself.
That's true. That is true. Last little piece here, and this is the Demaryius Thomas block. I was going to touch on it, but the last thing was before we just close it up with just talking about Adam Gase's future. How much do you think the improved supporting cast will help Adam Gase this year? Ignoring the offensive line, I think that's the biggest one. But I think as a whole, I mean, you do lose Robbie Anderson, but I do think drafting a guy like Denzel Mims and Brashad Perriman seems like they may fit Adam Gase, or at least what Joe Douglas was trying to get in the draft or this offseason. Explosive playmakers. They bring the run blocking. How much do you think that will help Adam Gase's offense, and the fact that they're getting Chris Herndon back? This is a play right here where, again, kind of what I was talking about, where Darnold predetermines. We showed a play like this earlier, but they're both running 9 routes. Crowder's coming over the middle. The safety's showing you that he's guarding. They're double teaming Robbie essentially. And Sam just decides beforehand that he's going to go to Robbie because he doesn't trust 80-year-old Thomas to get open. But Thomas gets him with the double move, and that would have been 6. If that's Perriman and Mims, maybe it's forcing him to scan the field a little bit more. But Robbie, just kind of your thoughts on the improved weaponry for Sam Darnold, Adam Gase, and how that might help this season.
Yeah, I like the receivers a lot better this year than last year. And a lot of fans are down on the receivers. They don't think there's any talent there. They should have got 2 receivers in the draft. I mean, the way I look at it, Enunwa was out of the equation. Enunwa could never have been relied upon. You've got to play games. So it's Anderson, Demaryius, and Crowder versus Perriman, Mims, and Crowder. To me, Perriman is so much more talented than Robbie Anderson. It's not even close. The issue is reliability. Perriman has been injured way too often, and Robbie Anderson's played more games. As long as Perriman plays and Herndon plays, I don't think it's a question. I think the weaponry is a lot better.
Michael, your thoughts on Perriman and Mims fitting into Gase's offense?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the weapons is that you look at the tight end, slot, and running back spots. I think you have top 10 to 15 receiving weapons at those 3 positions. Crowder's a top 10 slot easily if you look at his numbers. Bell is easily a top 10 receiving running back. And then Herndon, I think, does have the potential to be a top 10 tight end.
Look at Herndon on that block, by the way, on this against this Giants. I mean, watch him on this play. Not to cut you off, but I mean, just to show what the Jets were missing from their tight end blocking. I mean, he holds that block up.
Yeah, they really could have used a lot more of that. I don't think he's the greatest blocker, but he's definitely better than Griffin and Daniel Brown. But I think he can be a top 10 tight end. When over the last 12 weeks of 2018, he was producing at a top 10 level, and he was a rookie. And most rookie tight ends who have produced the way he has have gone on to be stars. He was in the range of guys like Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry, Antonio Gates. So I think he has the potential to be that. So if you look at those 3 positions, I think they're really good there. And then with Perriman and Mims, like you said, I think Brashad Perriman definitely has the upside to be a lot more productive than Robbie Anderson. It just comes down to can he acclimate to this offense? Can he stay healthy? Because he's been so up and down in his career. And then with Mims, I absolutely love that pick. His upside is tremendous. The things he can do as a blocker and as a receiver, his nuance as a route runner at the top of routes to create separation and then make those contested catches. He can be great. It's just a question of what's he going to do in his first year. We saw last year there were so many year one star receivers, Deebo Samuel, Hollywood Brown, A.J. Brown. Is he going to do that? I don't think so at the level those guys did, but can he be solid in year one? I think that's what you're hoping for. But long-term, I'm really excited about him.
And think about it like this. When you're thinking about these receivers, in this league, with these rules, you want guys who could win one-on-one, who could get contested catches, who could routinely make over the behind-the-shoulder plays. Robbie Anderson's not that guy. I mean, we've seen behind-the-shoulder plays from Robbie Anderson at times, but Perriman and Mims do that and can do that routinely. So I think that's big for Darnold in one-on-one situations.
Yeah, and especially for Darnold, I think they complement him really well because we know how aggressive he is, and he hasn't had the big-bodied or contested catch receivers to complement that. The best we've seen is Herndon in his rookie year, and that was a great connection. But they really missed that this past season when they didn't have him. So to be able to have 2 guys who can get it done in the red zone, can win a contested ball on a 9 route, is going to be back shoulders too. There's something he has not had at all. in terms of the back shoulder game. Robbie Anderson missed a few of those late last season. So to have those, I think it's a great compliment for him, and it's going to help fix a lot of his biggest deep passing, passing against man coverage. I think there were some numbers that he wasn't great in that situation. So they're going to help plug a lot of Sam Darnold's biggest weaknesses. And I think with Denzel Mims, like you said, there are a lot of things people fawn over with wide receiver prospects, their ability to create after the catch, their 40 time. And there are times on the field where those things come into play, but to be able to win one-on-one, to grab the ball out of the air, beat a defensive back in a 50-50 situation is so important. That's really where they can add value on a consistent basis. And I think with Mims and Perriman, you have two guys who could do that.
All right, so we've looked a lot at Adam Gase's offense, seen some of the things that he does well and some of the things he hasn't. We've looked at some tendencies, some opening drives. We've gone through some drives. Bottom line, Robbie, what do you need to see from Adam Gase in 2020 to validate keeping him around in 2021? And then the second part of that question, do you think he will be the head coach in 2021? Do you think that he can do those things, or do you think that Joe Douglas will most likely be looking for another head coach in January?
If I gun to my head, I would say he will be the coach in 2021. I think the O-line is going to be much improved. I think Denzel Mims is going to be a star. And I think Darnold will show enough to make it to the next tier that he needs to make it to, which means Mekhi Becton is for real.
Hell of a draft class for Joe Douglas in that case, by the way.
Yes. I think, and I'm never this optimistic, but I think we're going to be stunned with how great the draft class is going to turn out and how much better everyone plays when the trenches are kicked up a notch, and how much better people coach even when they're not trying to coach better when that happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, where when I think about Joe Douglas running the draft, it makes me that much more excited for the fact that he has 4 first-round picks the next 2 years to build around Darnold, because we've talked about how Darnold has not been surrounded by the situations that Baker has been in Cleveland or Lamar in Baltimore, Josh Allen in Buffalo. But 2 years of 4 first-round picks in 2 years, that's a lot of ammo for Joe Douglas to build around him.
If Mekhi Becton's somehow not starting week 1, forget about it. It's a disaster. And then Gase ain't returning, and Douglas is going to be questioned, and it's the same old Jets. I think that's the first thing everyone has to watch.
Michael, your thoughts on Adam Gase's prospects of what he needs to show you? You had a great article on statistical benchmarks for Sam Darnold and the things that he needs to hit to validate, progress. What are some of those things that you want to see from Adam Gase in 2020 to validate bringing him back in 2021 to the point where you'll be happy that he's brought back as the coach, or at least content? And then the second part of that, do you think he will do that?
Well, I think, like Robbie said, the offensive line is so important in deciding whether he can hit these goals that we have for him. Because, we've been looking at, there were some examples in this, but there are so many examples throughout the season where the offensive line just gives you no chance to do anything. So I think it all starts with that. And if it doesn't pan out and it's still a complete mess, then just no one's going to be able to escape it, including Adam Gase. It's going to drag down everything. And a big part of that is Mekhi Becton and what he can do as a rookie. Is he going to have growing pains, or is he going to come out and be an instant star? They're really banking on that. And it makes him maybe the biggest X factor on the team. Because if this line's going to be better, he's going to have better this year. Becton's going to have to be a big part of it. So that's huge. But in terms of Gase, independent of all those factors, the biggest thing is Sam Darnold and his development. And again, it goes back to the O-line, but independent of that, I think you just want to see, from my point of view, I want to see him do a better job playing the tendencies, making sure that he's emphasizing his team's strengths, and based on down and distance situations, just doing what makes sense, not sticking like what he does is he'll be too tied to just like a certain ideology. Like, we're going to run on 2nd and long because that's what we're going to do, even though it's not what the Jets were good at last year. So I want to see him do a better job of just playing to his strengths, playing to what makes sense, instead of having these ideas that he's going to do no matter what to try to outsmart the opponent. And then usually he ends up outsmarting himself. So doing a better job, just being smarter and not trying to do too much is really a big thing I want to see. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the win column to me. It's about Darnold and the offense. Can you come out of this season and go into 2021 feeling like this can be a top half consistent good offense year after year? I think that's the main thing you want coming out of this season. And for them to for you to feel that way, I think it has to be a good offense this year. It doesn't have to be great, but I think you need to see them at least be an average offense this year. And Sam Darnold make that leap into the 12 to 15 range among starting quarterbacks.
And if everyone gets hurt again, like on the same day, magically, I don't care.
COVID
Gase should not return. Gase should not return. So
Yeah.
there's a dark cloud. That's my viewpoint. Like, even through no fault of his own, if the O-line is terrible again and the offense is bad again, he's got to go.
Yeah,
He's
he's
and
basically
someone else.
Yeah, in my mind, I agree with you. I don't think his leash could be any shorter. But I do think there's definitely a segment of Jets fans who just want Gase fired. And it's like, look, the best case scenario for the Jets is that Sam Darnold balls out and Gase returns. Because if Gase gets fired, that means most likely there's something wrong with Sam Darnold. There aren't many situations where Sam balls out and Gase gets fired. I agree with you, Michael, though. For me, the last 4 weeks of 2018 were probably the most fun I've had as a Jets fan in a while. 2015's up there too, probably is number one. But those last 4 weeks, the Jets went 1-3. It was really just the fact that I felt like I was watching the Jets franchise quarterback every week. And that's what made those last 4 games special to me. So it's like this season, if the Jets go 7-9 and Sam Darnold throws 30 touchdowns, I'll be happy. So that's what I'm looking for. And when you look at Gase, from a surface, his resume isn't as bad as it looks. I think when you add in context and in some of the things that we've talked about in this video, it looks worse. But when it's like, okay, he was the offense coordinator for the most historic offense in league history. Yes, Peyton was the quarterback, but you still have to give him some props because that quarterback swears by him. Then it's like he goes to Miami. He's 10-6. They go to the playoffs and they lose, but they didn't have their starting quarterback the last few games of that season. Year 2, they go 6-10, but their quarterback, tears his ACL in training camp out for the whole year. Year 3, again, their quarterback misses games, but they finished 7-9, but they were in it with 3 games to go. They were the 6th seed with 3 games to go, and then they lost all 3, and he gets fired. And then he comes here, quarterback gets mono, forced to start Luke Falk. They get off to a rough start, and they finish 6-2, and they finish 7-9. So it's not great, and sure, there's some context and excuses that I made from there. But on the surface, if you're looking back at Gase's resume 5 years from now, if he becomes, a successful head coach, you can look at those years and be like, well, they're not as bad as they look. So in my mind, I agree with you, Robbie. The excuses have been made for Adam Gase. I mean, every single excuse in the book. And at this point, his leash is short. He needs to produce or he'll be out of here. That'll probably do it for this Adam Gase film session, unless Michael or Robbie has any last words to throw at us. But Robbie, I'll give it to you real quick. Any plugs you have? I mean, obviously your personal Twitter, Jets X Factor, as I mentioned at the top of the pod. Best Jets website out there. And I firmly believe that I even though the podcast had been on the website, I hadn't really gone and really fully explored it until the last month or so. And I've been reading it, every single day, and going through YouTube and watching the clips. I'm really, really excited about this website and the content that's coming out. So all the plugs in the world right now for Jets X Factor and Robbie, it's the mic is yours.
Yeah. Jets X Factor and Cool Your Jets, obviously all the podcasts, Blewitz Film. He's going to have a who's he doing? Bradley McDougald film session out really soon. And JetX Shop, Nania. Tell him all the ideas on JetX Shop. Run CMG, Connor McGovern approved. His son has got some Run CMG shirts. More ideas coming soon this weekend as well.
Yeah, I've been working on the ideas every single day.
Yeah,
to see McGovern wearing that was pretty awesome. But
yeah, then there's one coming out that's great. There's one coming out about a cereal, a certain cereal I used to eat growing up, and it's perfect for this one player.
I'm trying to think. I'm not going to spoil it, but I don't think I can think of it off the top of my head. But I guess keep a lookout for that. I got to say, I'm a big fan of the Flashton shirt for Ashton Davis.
That's Nania. That was Nania.
If he's good, I might buy that. I mean, it's a really good design on that one. Yes, so definitely the man, the myth, the legend. I mean, how can you pass up having a punter T-shirt, especially you, Michael?
I don't even have one yet. But if I am gonna, at some point, I have to get the man one. Hopefully, he doesn't let us down though, because look, punters can be busts too.
Yeah,
hopefully he lives up to the hype.
And
there should be a Hennessy T-shirt too, right?
I mean, considering he was on the podcast, he is a friend of the podcast. We definitely need to have a Hennessy shirt.
Well, it's perfect. I mean, there's a whole Hennessy brand out there that just fits him perfectly.
I got the sense that he was mildly annoyed by all the Hennessy jokes he gets.
Oh, really?
Talked to him about it. Well, I think he was actually really nice. So I think he was just like being funny. But Michael, as far as Braden Mann goes, I don't mean to say anything. You're on your second marriage as far as it comes to punters, considering your love fest with Lack Edwards and how you just completely left him and the kids after after he got released. So I guess it's smart to probably wait a season to see if Braden Mann's worth a
really. I should make another shirt. It'll say best holder in the game. It'll show Lachlan Edwards, and it'll just have that X'd out and put Braden Mann under it.
There you go. That's instant cash right there. You could follow us at CYJ Pod on Twitter. You can follow Michael at Michael_Nania. Follow myself at Ben W. Blessington. Robbie, I don't want to mess up your Twitter is.
What is my Twitter? Just search my name. Search my name, Robby Sabo.
Yeah, Robby Sabo, no spaces.
Okay, so there you go. Robby Sabo. You can find this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, just like up Cool Your Jets. We've now uploaded all the podcasts onto Jets X Factor's YouTube channel. So check out that YouTube channel for all of our podcasts and all the great content coming from Jets X Factor. As we talked about ad nauseum, jetsxfactor.com is the best place to go for Jets content. Outside of that, I've got no more plugs. I thought this was fun to go through looking at all some Adam Gase stuff. And, I'm sure we're going to have some more content coming your way as far as film reviews and sessions go. Robbie is the best in the game, honestly, for those Sabo sessions during the season. Really looking forward to more of those in 2020. But outside of that, that'll do it for us. I guess let's just hope there's a football season because I'm getting more and more excited the closer we get to the season. So everybody stay healthy, stay happy.
Looks left under pressure. Bullets went over the middle. And he's got Crowder at the 10. Cuts it back at the 5. Goal line. Sam Darnold did it again. Jones has to take it away. Bradley McDougall.